Man, I like that a lot. Maybe think of it this way, though. Maybe the word intrapreneur, we could think of it being used almost interchangeably with the word creator. Because isn't that precisely what you're doing in business? Isn't there this emerging beautiful, creative child that is coming from some place that you never recognized, but it's just as real as reality itself? And so the creative moment has a throughput to the intrapreneur. And don't you love being a carrier of that? I wonder sometimes, and I hope what that means is that somehow we're emulating God, the highest good. And I know that you've been in this moment before. You know, life has you in this very stable space. We'll call that ordered space. And then a disruptive thought comes to you. And that disruption is so compelling, it pulls you from the space that you once were in, and it pulls you to a different place. I see a lot of rumors of that in the Genesis account. That whole context of, think about this, God standing in perfect order, and then looking across the span of time and finding this place where you and I live. And he makes this creative gesture. And I find this gesture loaded with risk as well. The risk is, I'm going to leave perfect order. And Genesis is pretty clear about this account. I'm going to step into what? I'm going to step into chaos. How many times have you done that in your careers? Where everything is ordered, and it's time to expand, or it's time to enter into a new business, and you know that there was this compulsion that pulled you somewhere else, and you step from order into chaos. I think what you and I know is this: it's all risk. It's all risk. What if you take that first fragile step and you step into oblivion? You have lived there before and you love it. You love that bleeding edge of not having the assurance of a future, but knowing that risk is causing you to compel you to get to some place that as of today doesn't exist. So fast forward from that moment of creation to the 13th century. And there we find the devastatingly brilliant St. Francis of Assisi. And the Franciscans to this day, they have this conception that Advent occurred. Advent occurred. The coming occurred when these simple words were constructed. And the logos was brought from nothing, into something. And those words were, "Let there be light." And the Franciscans have been puzzling that apart now for hundreds and hundreds of years. And then fast forward to Galileo, and now the current day cosmologists and physicists, And they're still trying to figure out what that pulsating light is. What is that creative moment? What occurred there? We're getting closer and closer. I think you'll like this. In the 1920s, there was this Belgian physicist, and his name was Georges Lemaitre. He began to tease apart E equals mc squared. Einstein wasn't a fan because it was putting his formulations at risk. And Lemaitre did something that was pretty risky. He concluded that Einstein was wrong. You see, Einstein required for the universe to be in stasis, steady state. Lemaitre begins to tease apart his formulations and concludes that can't be right. It's not right that the universe continues in its original state. So he publishes his first paper in the late 1920s that concludes that the universe continued to expand to this moment. And so when you as a businessman, when you as a businesswoman, when you are trying to attempt something that's never done before, it's like we're standing in this field of particulates that began with that "let there be light," and that same creative quality is somehow resident inside of you. If Francis was right, if Lemaitre was right, creation continues now. So continue to take risks. Continue to listen to that muse. Continue to push edges. Continue to create a reality that didn't exist a moment ago. And somehow when you do that and when I do that, there's an emulation of that which is most holy and most profound.